All right, guys, I ran the same multicolor print on 3 different printers side by side. The Anycubic Kobra 4 wasted 199 grams of filament. The Bambu Lab A1 wasted 230 grams. This brand new Creality SparkX i7 wasted 128 grams. Now, this is significant, but it's not the most significant thing about the i7. Hey, welcome back. My name is Nick. Today we're going to be looking at the brand new Creality SparkX i7. This is part of Creality's new SparkX sub-brand. It's the direct answer to Bambu Lab's A1. I've had a fair amount of hands-on time with this machine and I've run some real prints through it. I want to share exactly what's worth knowing before you decide if this printer is right for you. I also put together a free buyer's guide comparison. It covers the i7 against the A1 and the Anycubic Kobra 4, and the link will be down below. So first, let's go ahead and clear up what the SparkX i7 actually is. SparkX is a new brand from Creality. The i7 is the first machine in that entire lineup, and it's aimed directly at beginners. The build volume is 260 by 260 by 255 millimeters. It runs up to 500 millimeters per second, has a 300-degree hardened steel nozzle right out of the box. More on why that's important here in a minute. It has a direct drive extruder, a PEI build plate, an AI camera with spaghetti detection, and a cool, smart auto leveling feature. Pretty much what we all expect from a printer in 2026. The first thing I didn't expect to like as much as I do is the LED status bar. This feature I've only really seen on the H series Bambu printers. It shows the print progress live, it flashes when there's something wrong, and it lights up when your print's done. And you can also program the colors right in the control panel. So if you want to match your color style and your theme that you have going on with your printer, you can do that. On a Bambu H series printer, that's a $1,200 printer. On the i7, you're getting it for as little as $259 with the current sale price. And honestly, the LED bar tells you something bigger about Creality. They're starting to polish their products. Small details like this don't just show up by accident. Somebody made the call to include it. Somebody decided it was definitely worth the cost on a budget printer. And that's the different Creality than the one that shipped the Ender 3 years back. All right, next up, the hardened steel nozzle. It's standard and it's not an upgrade. And that matters more than people realize. Most printers at this price ship with a brass nozzle. With this printer being an open frame printer, you're not going to be printing materials like carbon fiber or nylon with this nozzle. But when you mainly print PLA and PETG, you're probably never going to have to replace that nozzle once you start using it. And I definitely can't say the same thing for the printers that I have with brass nozzles. And that upgrade is usually $20 to $40 for the nozzle replacement. The i7 is good to go for a long time. Now, the quick nozzle swap is also nice. You lift the lever, you swap the nozzle, you drop the lever, and you're done. There's no tools. And again, I think these are features that we expect from our printers in 2026. Now, here's one that I wasn't actually expecting, which is the bed leveling feature. And I'll be honest, on many of my printers, I turn bed leveling off or I skip it a lot of the times. It adds time to every single print, and most of the time, it's not even needed. The i7 changed that for me. Instead of probing the entire bed, costing 5 or even 10 minutes long, the i7 only probes the area where your print's going to be. So if you're printing a small model, it's just going to probe that little area. It'll be done in a matter of a minute and it'll move on. The result is a significantly faster setup before every single print, and a feature that I thought was very interesting to mention. Now, if you're that guy that likes to print a lot of models at one time, you can choose to skip each of your prints if it happens to fail during the print time process. It's super simple and similar to how the A1 works. You click this icon here, then you select your model to skip and hit the skip button. The printer will immediately stop printing on that model. Now here's a significant feature that I want to spend some time on: the pressure advance on the i7. Pressure advance is what keeps your printer from oozing filament at the start and the end of every single layer. When it's tuned right, you get clean corners, clean walls, no blobs where the print head changes direction. When it's tuned wrong, you get the exact opposite. Now, I came into this feature with some doubts, and I expected it to just be a marketing ploy, but I was totally proven wrong here. And I'm going to show you the proof in the test prints that are coming up in a little bit. Now the CFS Lite is the multicolor module. It has a 4-spool capacity and sits right next to your printer, or in my case, it sits above. I mount all of my multicolor units above my machines to save space. And that's where this design really pays off for me. You load your filaments from the front of the unit instead of the top. So when the CFS Lite is sitting above the printer, I can see directly into the slot I'm loading in, and I'm not having to fish around blind. And here's the part that I actually love. You slide the filament directly into the slot and the unit grabs it from you. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that the rollers do not wind the spools as the filament is pushed back, which is fine because the filament loads near the tool head anyways, and it's not having to retract all the way back like a Bambu AMS unit does. However, I do notice that the spools are unraveling a bit when I remove them. I haven't really encountered any issues with the filament tangling yet, but I could see where some people would have a concern with this. Now, there's two things that you need to know before you buy the combo. You can only run one CFS Lite at the same time. If you're looking for more than 4 colors, then this is definitely not the printer for you. Next, the CFS Lite supports TPU, but only the hard TPU. So you're looking at 64D TPU. Standard flexible TPU at 95A is not supported through the CFS Lite. You can still print it on the machine directly, but you have to use an external spool for it. So just know that before buying this multicolor unit. All right, real quick, if this video is helping you, hit that like button, drop me a comment and let me know. And also, if you have not grabbed that PDF cheat sheet yet, the link will be down in the description. Now, the last thing that I'd like to mention about the CFS is the i7 and the A1 both cap out at 4 colors. However, I personally would never run a print with more than 4 colors on a non-multi-tool head machine. The waste of the filament just hurts my soul. So the next thing, let's go ahead and show you what actually happened when I ran the same print through all 3 of these machines. And then we'll get to what I wish was different about this machine. All right, now the first thing to know, there is nothing on this list that is tuned. There is no filament calibration, no profile tweaks, no slicer optimizations. Every print I'm about to walk you through came off of this printer with default generic profile settings. First up, the elegant shelf model I mentioned earlier. I printed this specifically for a stress test of the pressure advance on the i7. It's a single color PLA print, default Creality profile, no tuning or adjustments. The walls came out super clean. We have super sharp corners. The direction changes have no blobbing. This was the print that told me the pressure advance on this printer is the real deal. Next up, the overhead mount. Basically 2 shelf brackets with a support arm. I printed these on PETG and they both came out great. One mount had a minor layer shift, but you can barely see it, and it's barely even noticeable. I also ran a turquoise screen cover to give this printer a little bit more accent. It's a single color PETG print as well. Then I moved on to a much bigger test, the large multicolor dragon from the movie Avatar. 2 days of print time, the print finished, one minor little issue. One of the wing fangs detached when I pulled it from the bed. I'm not sure if it was something that I did when I was removing it from the print bed, but it was something that I definitely wanted to mention because that didn't happen on the other 2 prints. And here's where the multicolor data gets interesting. Same Avatar Dragon, the default 1.0 purge multiplier on all 3 printers. The Anycubic Kobra 4 wasted 199 grams, the Bambu Lab A1 wasted 230, and the i7 was the winner at 128 grams. So the i7 wastes about 36% less than the Kobra 4 at default settings, and 44% less than the A1. Now, none of these settings on this print were optimized, but for a print like this Dragon where colors blend together and bleed shouldn't be very critical, you can drop the multiplier down to like a 0.6 or a 0.7 and cut the waste significantly without sacrificing the quality of the print. Now the last test, a tall benchy. We all know if you have a bed slinging printer, the issue is going to be when it gets to the top of the print. This one specifically designed to expose those wobbles at height. A tall, narrow, no internal bracing, the print finished on the first attempt. The front right side stayed clean all the way up to the top. The back wall stayed straight the entire length. Now the front left side near the top showed visible movement. The arm had wobbled quite a bit during the print. The asymmetrical wobble is one of those real flaws that I caught across the entire machine. Now, one thing to mention is that this same print failed 2 times in a row on another machine. The i7 hammered it out the first try. Now, if you're new to 3D printing, if you're printing tall, narrow parts, enable the slow down by height feature in the slicer and you'll get a significantly better result. So that was my test run. All prints with 0 fails. One wing fang detachment on the avatar model, but it's barely visible, and it could have been my fault when I pulled it off of the bed. Now you're probably wondering what I think should be different about this printer. First, the 50% less waste claim. I covered the actual numbers in the print results. Here's my read on what Creality is comparing against. The Bambu Lab A1 is the leader in the category. Every manufacturer benchmarks their release against the A1. So when Creality says 50% less waste, they almost certainly mean 50% less than the A1. The real number in my testing was about 44%. It's close, but not quite 50%. I definitely want to send more multicolor prints through this printer and see how those numbers change, but I'm thinking 50% is going to be a hard reach. Now, the last thing that I wish was different, and if you notice, it's not really something different about the machine itself, but the last thing that I wish was different is the direction of the Creality Cloud. The AI feature requires a subscription after the first year. You get a free year, but after that, it's a recurring cost that people probably won't keep anyways. The bigger problem is the marketplace itself. Browsing through Creality Cloud, a lot of the models are paid downloads. To be clear, that's not Creality charging you directly, it's that they allow their creators to put a price on their models. You end up paying the creator to download their model. Now, there are plenty of marketplaces that work this way. Colts 3D is one of them that I use all the time. So this pricing model isn't new. I feel a marketplace that's attached to a printer manufacturer should be open and free. A pay-to-play is the wrong fit for a manufacturing ecosystem. Bambu Lab built MakerWorld around free models and a point system that rewards creators with credits towards filament, printers, and accessories. The creator still gets paid, the buyer still gets free models, and everyone wins. Creality could have definitely gone this route, and I also made the same point in my Snapmaker U1 review, except they now launched a $150,000 prize to generate more models for their marketplace. I think that this is the right direction to build a marketplace that desperately needs it. Manufacturers should have an open and free marketplace for their customers. Now, I might sound a bit harsh about this subject. There are a ton of free models on the platform, I understand that. But when I hit a model that I would like to print and I get served with a buy button, it just sits wrong with me. It's just how I feel, and I hope that Creality sees my point. Bambu is the one that is definitely getting this right. Now, this is not a deal breaker for me if I was going to buy the i7, but it is definitely an extra step to look at other marketplaces like MakerWorld to find a model, download it, open it in Creality Slicer, then I have to make my adjustments, and then I can print it when, if it came from Creality Cloud, I could literally hit print and send it straight to the printer. To me, I feel it's just a missed opportunity, and it definitely caught me off guard. So then the question remains, who should actually buy the i7? Now, if this is your first printer and you want something that works straight out of the box with minimal learning curve, the i7 is a strong pick. You don't have to assemble it. The AI catches most failures before they ruin a print. And the hardened steel nozzle means you're probably never going to replace that nozzle once you start using it. So let's talk pricing because there are 3 models of the i7. The standalone i7 with a single spool holder is $279. The autofill version steps up to $309, and that's the one that loads 2 rolls at once and switches over automatically when one rolls out. And the color combo with the CFS Lite, like this one here, is $399. That's the 4-color multicolor version. Each model is currently discounted right now on Amazon, and the links will be down below. All right, now who is this printer not for? If you plan to print materials other than PLA and PETG and are interested in strong engineering materials such as ABS, ASA, or any other high temp material, this is definitely not the machine. The i7 is an open frame machine and those materials need a controlled chamber. But if a budget-friendly, simple setup and easy to use printer is what you're looking for, the i7 is a machine that won't disappoint you. I honestly think that the i7 holds up to its spec sheet so far. That's not always the case with new printers. Now, if you decide to pick up the i7 through one of the links that are down below, it helps out the channel and it doesn't cost you a thing extra. The sale is live right now, so pull the trigger before it's gone. Again, my name is Nick. I hope you're having a great day, and as always, happy printing.